Good morning, students. How are you all? Fine. Okay, very good. Students, now is the session of economics. Okay. And in the previous 2 or 3 sessions, we had completed the chapter money. And in that very chapter, we went through different topics like the definition of money, functions of money, different components of money supply, etc. we have done. And I think that you may have gone through these topics properly from your textbook and you may have done the related questions also. Okay, so must get it checked by me as soon as possible. Okay, students, today we are going to start the new chapter, and that is banking. Very important chapter which you have to read in detail. Okay, so before going in detail of this chapter, first of all, let us define bank. What is called a bank? Okay, a common definition which may be given to a bank is something like this: an institution engaged in accepting deposits and granting loans, along with providing some very important financial and general utility services to the public, to the government, and to different agencies of the government. Okay, so basically whatsoever may be the form of a bank, it is mainly engaged in financial activities like accepting deposits, granting loans, or controlling the money matters, or managing the money supply, etc. All these activities are related to a bank. Okay, so a bank, you can say, is an institution engaged in activities of accepting deposits and granting loans, along with providing some important general utility services and financial services. Okay, now what is banking then? Banking, when we say, then it refers to all those practices undertaken by different commercial banks as well as the central bank related to financial matters, money matters of the economy. That means banking is a system through which money supply takes place and it is controlled, and along with it, through banking, some important financial activities are also carried out. Okay, that is called banking. Okay, so all the activities collectively engaged in the financial activities like accepting deposits, granting loans, as well as providing other financial services and general utility services will collectively be called as banking. Okay, now students, the banking system of a country is basically classified into the 2 categories. One is called the central bank and the other is called commercial banks. Okay, in today's session we would like to discuss the meaning and functions of the central bank. Okay, let us first define which bank is called the central bank. You know, students, when we say the central bank, then it refers to the apex monetary and financial authority of the country's monetary and banking system. Okay, it means the central bank is the supremo, the head of the entire banking system through which the financial and monetary system of the country are controlled and managed. Okay, so you can define the central bank basically in the way as the apex monetary and financial authority engaged in controlling, directing and regulating the money supply as well as banking system of the country. Okay, that is called the central bank. In fact, the central bank is defined on the basis of the functions it performs. Okay, so we shall discuss the different functions performed by the central bank of a country in detail one by one. Okay, you know, students, the central bank of India is known as the Reserve Bank of India or RBI in short. It was established in 1935 and nationalized in 1949. And after independence, this bank was given a lot of rights and a lot of monetary and financial exercises to be undertaken by it. Okay, so as time passed in India, the role of the central bank RBI is also increasing day by day. Similarly, the Central Bank of England is called Bank of England, and the Central Bank of USA is called the Federal Reserve System, and in Japan it is called the Bank of Japan. Okay, that means in almost all countries of the world there happens to be a central bank to control, regulate and direct its monetary and banking system. Okay, now let us discuss the different functions of the central bank. Okay, the first and foremost important function of the central bank is to issue currency notes. Okay, you know, students, the central bank of a country has exclusive rights to issue currency notes of almost all denominations as per directed by the government. Okay, although the coins and some of the notes of small denominations are issued by the government, by the Ministry of Finance of the government itself. However, the largest part of total amount of money issued in the economy is mainly issued by the central bank. The central bank has the sole authority to issue the currency notes. No other institution has been given this authority. Okay, but you know, students, before issuing the currency notes of any amount, the central bank has to keep a reserve of valuables like gold and foreign securities just in proportion to the amount of currency notes which has been issued by it. Okay, and by following this practice, the currency notes are issued by the central bank time to time as per requirement of the economy and as per directives given by the government. Okay, and you know, students, the central bank has the authority to change some of the currencies time to time, or to replace them, or even to cancel them as demonetization was done in India few days ago. Okay, so the central bank is only authority to issue currency notes. Okay, this is the first function. The second important function of the central bank is it acts as banks to the government. That means the central bank is the bank of the government. Why it is the bank of the government? Because it provides the service of an agent, of an advisor, or of a bank to the government. Okay, as a bank to the government, the central bank maintains different accounts of the government, a state government as well as the central government, both. As an agent of the government, the central bank buys and sells securities on behalf of the government. Okay, and as an advisor to the government, the central bank provides valuable advices or suggestions on different financial and economic issues. Okay, while formulating economic policies for the country and making different development plans and schemes, usually the government seeks advices from the central bank, and the central bank has to provide the important information, valuable suggestions to the government. Okay, not only this, but time to time the central bank collects data on different socio-economic issues and conducts researches, and while making policies for the country, the central bank provides valuable assistance to the government. Okay, so from this point of view, you can say that the central bank in fact is a bank to the government. It is a government's bank. Okay, this is the second function we have discussed. The third important function of the central bank is that it acts as a banker's bank. You know, students, there are several commercial banks in the country which operate throughout year, and they are engaged in accepting deposits and granting loans through which credit creation takes place and the supply of money is largely affected. Okay, so the central bank in fact controls the activities of the commercial banks also. Okay, the commercial banks first keep their surplus fund or reserve fund as deposits with the central bank. Okay, and the rate at which the commercial banks keep their surplus fund with the central bank reserve is known as reverse repo rate. And sometimes whenever the commercial banks are in need, they also borrow from the central bank, and the rate at which they borrow from the central bank is called repo rate. Okay, so the commercial banks deposit their surplus fund with the central bank as well as borrow from it. Therefore, the central bank is also called the banker's bank. Okay, Not only this, whenever the commercial banks are in crisis due to excessive withdrawals, then the commercial banks provide financial assistance or offers loans at reasonable rates of interest or on easy terms and conditions, etc. So you can say the commercial banks survive in the economy and successfully operate their business under the guidelines and instructions of the central bank. Okay, the central bank also provides the service of a clearance house, which we shall discuss later on. Okay, so students, today I have discussed the meaning of central bank and two or three important functions to be performed by the central bank. And in tomorrow's session, I would like to finish this topic. So better you go through this topic from the textbook and make a conversation with me if possible. Thank you.